Hi, Jamie. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hopefully her audio will work. So it's a few minutes after. We'll go ahead and get started because I know we've all got other things to do. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I'm also certainly grateful that you guys took time today to join me. And this is kind of an open Q&A for sure. I think we can all learn from one another, but I thought maybe the two topics that we would sort of focus our time on is keeping our focus on a progress mindset. We're in week 3, and normally this is in the 6-week challenges. This would have been a time where people are like, ugh, the novelty, the fun, the zest that we had on day 1 or week 1 is kind of starting to wane, because the novelty is wearing off from our daily habits. But since this is a 12-week journey now, we just have to recalibrate and focus our mindset even more differently than we maybe would have in the past. So that's one topic. And then I thought the other topic that we could work on together is if there's areas in our life that we're procrastinating. Because it's not a matter of, are you a procrastinator, where it's the human condition of procrastination. And I know I've written about this in one of my coaches' posts and so forth. But it comes up a lot in the reflections. I see a lot of teammates talk about how they struggle with procrastination. So those are the two topics. But before we launch into anything, is there any questions you guys have or other topics that you want to kind of jump in with before we begin? Sound like a good use of our time this morning?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. And I'm recording this, so I'll post it in the coaches post for other people to watch later on that couldn't join us. So first up, got my little notes here. So on the progress mindset, these are some of my beliefs and practices and what I've learned over the years as far as moving away from perfectionism. Because as you know, the team mantra, the whole life challenge, most of the people who have long-term success, they all adopt this progress, not perfection mindset. So we can all agree on that. The heavy lifting is, how do you put it into practice in your life? Okay, so one of the things is, to me, progress means there's a daily intentional effort, and it's regardless of the actual outcome. So you're not so concerned about what this is going to do for you, how you're going to see it or manifest it in your life, what that outcome is. It's more about, I'm going to be intentional within the things that are within my control today, and I'm going to seek progress in that way by taking action. Okay. The other thing is, and I can't highlight this enough, this should be at the top of our priority list, I think, for all of us. But when we're seeking progress, we need to really hone in on the skill of kindness towards ourselves, because it's not going to go as we plan or as we visualize it. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be things that are outside of our control that take our energy and our mindset someplace else. And I'm personally dealing with this, nearly on a daily basis, partly because I'm dealing with a difficult family member and I'm managing my mother's estate, and it's a really horrific emotional challenge for me. So my intentions and my actions have been wildly thrown off course because I've gotten hooked and sucked into that. So I have to really embrace this kindness towards myself, that I'm truly doing my best. Okay. And that really will propel your progress. Believe it or not, that inner critic that wants to bash you over the head, each misstep, that is not helpful. So we can work on our dialogue within our own inner voice to be more towards the kindness, the way we would speak to a good friend or a loved one, or even a child that's struggling learning a new skill. So that kindness also never expects perfection. Okay, so it goes hand in hand, progress, not perfection. But when you truly are embracing that kindness of self and your humanness, you don't even have an expectation for yourself that you're going to be perfect. You just know it's not going to go as planned all the time. And those aren't failures. And that's not that you suck or that you're lazy or that, you don't have what it takes. It's just, that's the process of learning, growing, evolving, and making that progress. The other thing that I like to emphasize to myself and to my clients is where we can utilize the idea of expectations is most of the time it's going to happen slower than we want. Right? Especially in today's world where we have instant gratification in so many areas of our life that we don't have to wait for anything. It just shows up. I mean, this coronavirus and the stay-at-home orders, wow, it's taxing our ability to not have that instant gratification or even that certainty of what the next day can bring within our schedule, because it's just so wildly unpredictable, right? So it's thinking through that, okay, I don't know how quickly this is going to happen, this change that we're seeking, or, how ingrained the habits that we're building are going to start to look more like the automatic pilot that we have with our unwanted, habits that aren't really helping us so much. But it will happen. But if we can embrace that, it happens slowly. We can then, really focus on what I call the 3 Ps. That's patience, persistence, and practice. So we're going to move, it's going to happen gradually. It's going to happen slowly, some things faster than others. But underneath all of our progress mindset, it's, can I be patient? Can I be persistent in my intentional efforts? And can I just see this as a practice? We're all practicing here. We're all experimenting with finding that right combination depending on the day. So it's not even so much as a rigid, inflexible routine of, well, on Mondays I do this and on Fridays I do this. It's also taking into things are shifting and changing, and it's all a practice. Sound good? Let's see. So the other one that I wrote down is the progress's BFF, so to speak, is, and I really don't like this one because I love having options and freedom and, that kind of, I suffer from shiny object syndrome. But truly, the BFF of progress is structure and routine. So it's kind of that dynamic duo of discipline. The more structure we can have and the more routine we can have in our day, the more consistent we'll be, the greater progress we'll make. And the key of all of it is it will grow slowly in a sustainable way. So that's why the Whole Life Challenge and the 7 daily habits aren't right for everybody. If it's the person who's looking for kind of a quick fix or those life hacks, so to speak, or tricks, it's really not going to work for that person. And so the more we can embrace structure and routine, the more progress. And our mind is going to, start to change and shift into that progress mindset. And then probably the last one, and then I really want to know your guys' thoughts and what works for you to stay in that zone of progress mindset is, I have found in my personal life and also those I coach is, where the mind goes, the body follows. So a lot of times we really want to work on the external things and kind of force our bodies to do a lot of different things, but our mind isn't leading. Okay. So all of these things, they start in the mind and our bodies will follow that mindset. so to speak. So, and with that, then I commonly get the question, but there's a lot of feelings that go on in my mind. And so oftentimes when I don't do what I say I'm going to do, or what I say is important, it's like, I don't feel like it. Suddenly in the moment, I don't feel like it. And so there are other tactics and skills that we can use. One of the, probably the most famous of them all, and it goes hand in hand with even procrastination, is, you've heard of Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. You know, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just go, just do it. Stop thinking about it. Stop analyzing if you feel like it. There's a lot of truth in that. And I say it in a similar way, just begin. Because once you begin, the possibilities are unlimited. You know, you really just don't know where it's going to lead. I do this a lot with myself personally with exercise. That's the one I struggle with doing consistently, even though I enjoy moving my body. But when I say I'm going to go exercise, there's just this roadblock in my mind. So I always have to go back to just begin, see where it goes. And it's a success, 100% success if I begin. And I always do more than I think I'm going to do. So with that, that's kind of some of the thoughts and ideas that I had today around progress. I could go on and on, but I really would rather hear from you and what's keeping you in a progress mindset.
Well, mine is definitely procrastination. I'm a very big procrastinator, but I am overwhelmed, and so I am retired. Have been retired for 5 years. Talking about structure, I had all these big plans to get this, and this done when I retired, and different plans came my way to taking care of elderly parents and all of that during the years. Well, now that's kind of slowed down, and having structure, you definitely have to have that. But that's when I wander. I go around in circles. I know I have to get this done, or I should get that done, but then I can wait till tomorrow, or whatever. And I get myself upset, that I didn't do it, or I like what you said, is just start it, just do it. Don't think about it. And I do that also with exercise too. I am a walker, so I do get out there and get my steps in, but other than that, other exercises or just doing it, it's just very, very hard. So I let things build up because I procrastinate, and then you get overwhelmed. And so then it's like I have to do at least one, just take it small, just take one little piece of it and do that, and then feel good or accomplished about that. So so that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. So the progress and the procrastination, they really do go, they're hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's helped having a goal, the goal of, okay, let's get to be able to jog. I think my jog's as fast as my walk is, but it's that goal is helping me with exercise and looking at the weather and saying, oh, wait, I won't be able to do this tomorrow, because if I do this every other day, then nope, if I wait until tomorrow, that throws me off, and this day it's raining, so no, that doesn't work. I have to go today. So the days where I'm not jogging is the harder days to exercise. But the days where I am, if it's nice, I kind of have this is the weather, I have to get out. Oh
yeah. Yeah. That's a good push.
Yeah.
And you're forecasting.
And having a goal. I think that all of that combination kind of is helping me.
Oh, good. Yeah.
As far as exercise goes, for me, it's my buddies that keep me, we keep each other sort of in line. So we have a little group chat that we're always talking about what we're doing, especially in this COVID time. Yeah. We all get on there and brag about what we're going to do today. And then that encourages the others. And we do meet up to run. We stay our distance from each other, but we'll at least once a week we're running and biking. So and so part of it too is that I need to stay in shape enough to be able to hang with the group when we're riding bikes. So
Yeah.
it makes me get out and do some stuff on my own as well. So it's the tribe that they're talking about in the Whole Life Challenge right now, how we work together to encourage each other.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, together we're just stronger. We push ourselves more, we do more. It's because at the basic foundation of human nature, we want to be in communion, we want to be connected with others, and we will elevate our game for others and in turn ourselves. So that's great that you have that buddy system.
Yeah, but many times, it hasn't been happening lately, but a lot of times I get all ready to go for a run. I'll get dressed, I'll get all my stuff ready to go, and then I just procrastinate, just fiddle fart around until it starts raining or until something happens like that. But when I do just do what you said earlier, just do it, just go out, and maybe like yesterday I decided, well, I'll just run and walk, because I really do have a hard time going out for a run by myself. So I had this little timer on my phone where I ran for 4 minutes and walked for 1 minute. And I really did just about as fast as I normally do run, because I'm a very slow runner. I'm a jogger as well. So, but what I read, or what I've heard, Annie, lately is that, 3 miles, you still go, if you're going to go 3 miles, you're still going just as many steps as the guy who did it in 9 minutes. Or as you do it in 12 minutes. So just doing it is what really matters the most.
You hit that on the head, because so many people diminish walking, for the people who jog or do these long distance bike rides and so forth like that. But, do your thing, and anything that you're willing to do consistently is the best form of exercise, because the alternative is doing nothing. For most people, it's either this or that. So if I'm not as good as this person, then I just won't do it. Well, we know that's only hurting yourself. So you're absolutely right. It's the same no matter the time or the intensity. You're moving.
Yeah, I have the gym that I belong to, for the month of April, they're doing a marathon month. So they sent it, out, and the one younger lady, invited me to join, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But since I'm a walker, I'm like, okay, what the heck, I can. So I'm watching them all post, and they're all runners, and they're like running 4, 5, some of them 8 miles a day, and I was like, okay, I'm only walking my 3, or trying to get my 3 in, sometimes 2, and trying to improve my pace as well. And I'm keeping my log with it all. So then I was hesitant, because I felt, well, I'm not good enough to post this. I'm not this runner mentality of what they're doing, most of them. And like I say, most of them are like in their 20s and 30s that are out there with the energy. So, and I'm trying to improve. My goal is to improve my pace, which my legs are very short. I'm using that as my excuse, but I'm trying to increase the pace. But anyway, when I hit the 26.3 miles for a cumulative for the month, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to post it on the Facebook page with everybody, and just say, and I was very hesitant. And even to this day, I'm still like, why did I do that? Which I got a lot of great comments back, but I just wanted to say, I wanted to kind of encourage the other walkers that may be out there that aren't really saying anything, feeling intimidated. So that's why I did that. But I was doing a lot of that comparison, and it was kind of holding me back of, I was doing it. That wasn't like Annie said, with the goal, having that goal. And every other day I'm trying to get out there and get that goal in. And then I was like, well, once I made the 26 miles, and then at the end of tomorrow, we have to send in like our log sheet of what we did for the whole month. So, which is good, kind of keeps you going, but they want us to use that then for next month to then improve, like, your comparison to improve what you've done in April. So, but it got me out there moving. So that was good.
That's so great, because it's when we put ourselves out there, even when we're nervous about it or we're feeling inadequate, it gives other people that license and that permission to go, oh, okay. I mean, I'm a living testament to that, because there's so many on the team that are more consistent in exercise. You know, they're better at this or better at that. But I always remind myself, I'm so happy for that person that that's working for them,
Yes.
you know, and I can learn from that person. But at the end of the day, what's going to work for me that is aligned with my values and my goals and the quality of life that I seek? I don't want to be a runner. I know that about myself.
Neither do I.
I love playing sports, and if you give me a ball to chase, I am all over it. But if you tell me go outside and run, it ain't going to happen. It just not. And I have no desire. So I can see that, though. But when you join something, you're like, oh, I'm just not as good. And it really usually comes back to is, no, that's just not my goal. And I don't value it. That's why I don't do it.
Right. Right. So true.
And, you know, what you were saying, Sherry, about kind of pitter pattering and, you know, just kind of like, I'll do this. And then before you know it, it's too late in the day or it's raining or something like that. It reminds me of that prompt that just came up recently about what are your kryptonite foods? You know, and then you could apply it to the same thing about, you know, not making progress in a certain area. What's the kryptonite barrier or obstacle that prevents you from? And being really clear about those things, because I know for myself, where the mind goes, the body follows, you know. And it's kind of like a perfect segue, but I don't want to diminish it. Jamie, if you had something to say on the progress mindset before we shift over to procrastination. But it really does get into that, like, we start overthinking things, you know, or we have shiny object syndrome, you know, and that will derail us. So Jamie's got hers on mute. So just, she did make a good point in the chat roll, though.
Sorry, I'm teaching at the same time as I'm listening.
Oh, that's okay. That's totally okay. I do appreciate what you said in the chat, is that we never speak to our friends the way we speak to ourselves. And it is. We all know this. So it's just relearning a dialogue. And when we're focused on our progress mindset, the other thing to think is, you know, when we suppress or avoid our negative thoughts or our uncomfortable emotions, they don't go anywhere. They just stay stuck and they magnify and they get bigger. And eventually they'll manifest in some way in our life. And so if we can imagine it as when that comes to you and it's knocking on your door, and that repetitive rumination and overthinking is just, you know, kind of think about, can I pull up a chair and invite that in and have like a curious conversation with that person, as though I were trying to understand my best friend and seeing what their perspective is. It really can make such a shift in your inner voice if you can drop into that place of, pull up a chair, this sucks. You know, this is wildly uncomfortable, but I'm going to give you 1 minute, go. So that's another place to work on in your inner critic zone. Okay, on to procrastination. So I did have this. I know, and trust me, we're all procrastinators. So this is the Wikipedia definition of procrastination. Not that we all need to know what it is, but it has some really, you know, direct truths in it. Is we're avoiding a task that needs to be accomplished by a certain deadline. The deadline, most in this context, what we've set for ourselves. And, you know, delays starting and finishing a task despite knowing there might be negative consequences. But I would say with this is a lot, when it comes to our habits, we tend to overestimate the time it will take to accomplish something. And so if we can't get that atta girl completion, then we just don't begin, which is counter to what we talked about with progress, is just begin, see how far you go. Any progress is better than, you know, staying stuck and not making any attempt. But we have to actually believe that. It's nice to say, and it sounds really good, but a lot of us talk ourselves out of that. It's just like, no, that's not worth it. Right? Don't you all say that to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you went out for a 5-minute walk, but did you really do anything? Was that really worth it? Well, sure it was. You got up off the couch,
Mm-hmm.
And you can build from there. It doesn't have to be stellar.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there's some other kind of things that really keep us stuck in that procrastination. The one that I think is the biggest death nail in our coffin, so to speak, is when we keep telling ourselves, I'm a procrastinator. That we attach this label to ourselves, that's part of our character. It's part of our moral failing as a person. And so many people are like, oh, I'm just such a procrastinator, and they champion that label. They keep repeating it to themselves, to others, to whoever will listen. And when you can make the shift to say, the words I speak to myself really matter. And I'm going to detach that label. I'm not a procrastinator. That is not who I am. It's not written on my forehead. It's that sometimes my behavior and my actions are procrastinating. And I know some people don't give word choices enough weight in their lives, but you'll see this in the comments when people talk about their food choices, and it's a cheat day, or I ate this bad food. We are no better than children. If you tell a child that they're a cheater and they're bad, you're going to have negative emotions around that. So your word choice does matter. So that's one thing. Detach the label that I'm a procrastinator, and instead identify those areas in your life that you tend by your actions to procrastinate more often. And then those of us who have worked on our procrastination, because we're all on a spectrum, it's part of the human condition to procrastinate in some regard, in some area of your life. If you've ever tried those, tricks and hacks and quick fixes and so forth, just know they can work temporarily. Nothing wrong with that, but it can work in maybe one area of your life really well. For instance, some people, when they learn to say, okay, I'm not going to open up my email or look at social media first thing in the morning, they see, they don't procrastinate on getting other things done. So that was kind of the key in the lock that turned on the ability to get these other things that they'd normally procrastinated on just done. Boom, right out the gate. So you can call that a trick or a hack, but it was really a behavior shift. It was an intentional shift to put something else as a priority over something else. But I'm not one to believe in some of these, kind of trick of the mind. We're smarter than that. We know we're trying to trick ourselves. And then I think embracing the idea that it's a continual experiment to see what's going to motivate us and sustain that inspiration to keep going on tasks that generally we get bogged down with, we get overwhelmed, and then that inner voice of, you're never going to get this done. You keep stumbling in this area, get with it already. You've read how many books, you've read how many articles, you should know better by now. If you knew better, you would be doing better. So there's still something there to be learned. And if we can embrace it from I'm going to experiment. This is all an experiment anyway, this journey we're on. So embracing an experimental mindset will also position you well in the future at any point that you find another area that you're procrastinating in. Because it'll give you the confidence of, oh, I kept experimenting. I found the right combination that kind of moved me past that staying stuck place with XYZ. Maybe I can apply a little bit of that here. And We also have this false belief that there's like one right way to do something. You know, we've all heard of, like, with exercise, put your shoes by the bed and your workout clothes, and before you ever step out, you know, get in them. Some people, you know, sleep in your workout clothes, and then you'll be able to do it. And we have all these examples of people that do. So is that the one right way? Well, we know that's not. Personally, I'm not going to sleep in my workout clothes, but hallelujah, it works for other people. You know, go on, you know, get that done. But just know there's not one right way. There's dozens and hundreds of pathways for you to overcome the areas that you procrastinate in. And then, you know, when we do get down to the tactical sort of action steps, doing things like removing distractions, because that's the first thing that we want to latch onto when we procrastinate, is something else. Distract ourselves so that we don't have to tackle the hard, difficult, or uncomfortable task at hand. That's what we're trying to avoid. So the more you can minimize those distractions, and particularly, we've worked on this in prior challenges too, is, you know, turning off those notifications on your phone, and, you know, suppressing your email so that you don't get the ding, you know, when you're on your computer and you're working on a project. You know, not looking at social media except in intentional times during the day, and so forth. Setting timers. There's all these things that we can do to keep our attention focused. And that will also contribute to our success rate of diminishing the amount of time we procrastinate. The other thing to remember is we're not trying to eradicate procrastination. I think that's important to say, and that's not setting the bar low. It's just being honest with ourselves that this is the human condition, that in some ways, in a certain area of life, you will probably always procrastinate in some level. But can you improve? Can you make great strides? Can you be in the zone for most of the time? Absolutely. That's the goal, not to eliminate it from your life. Because again, that goes back to perfectionist mindset, or the all or nothing, which we all know where that leads. So I have some other notes, but I'll stop there as far as procrastination. And maybe I'll turn it over to you guys. Is there an area of your life that you used to procrastinate in a lot, and now you see that you don't, because you did certain tactical things, or you shifted your mind in some way?
So I still procrastinate in this area, but I'm a pastor, which means I need a sermon every week.
Oh.
So while I do still procrastinate, I have found one way that helps me in that area. There's something called Shut Up and Write, which is everywhere. And I found that having a few of those each week, that dedicated time where I'm with other people writing, even if it's virtual, helps me really get into and make myself work on a sermon.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy that it's back to the community again?
Yeah.
It's that camaraderie and the other people that encourage us to be there. That's it's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that for exercise too. Group exercise is the best way for me to do it, and I'm missing that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of the phrase "eat the frog"?
No.
No. I just like it because it's easy to remember and it's kind of visual and stuff. But I think it's rooted in the military somehow. There's some connection, if my memory serves me right. But it's basically, it's the distasteful thing that we're trying to avoid and we procrastinate on. So the term is eat the frog. So you do that thing first thing in the morning. So if it's like writing and you have something you need to write and you need to get out, you know, you eat the frog. You do the distasteful thing before you do other things. Because also first thing in the morning or first part of your day, we tend to have more energy, you know, that it's not the willpower factor. Our resources full. And so I've used this in, you know, when I need to write something or I have a project that I need to do and stuff like that, I'll just tell myself, can I eat the frog? And sometimes I can't. I just cannot get myself there. And so the secondary tactic to that is, okay, if I'm not going to do the hardest thing or the most distasteful thing that I'm procrastinating on, you know, can I do something that's next on my list? And I think that's an amazing pivot in our procrastination, is to not go from that place of, oh, I really should be doing this, to doing the dishes, you know, or something so low down on our priority list. It's like, okay, just, you know, move to the next most important thing. And can you just begin and make some progress on that? The reason being is it will boost your confidence. You know, you'll see yourself still making progress on important things. So I'm sorry, that didn't really totally follow what you guys were talking about. In my mind, I think I started that it was going to, but it didn't. So I'll turn it back over to you guys. Any other things, like even within the daily habits, that you've seen a shift over time that you used to procrastinate on? Go ahead.
I have done the no notifications on my phone. I've kept that real so that I don't see any things that draw my attention. I have to go there. So that has worked for me quite well, actually.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that's one of the, I had a friend during that time where she's like, yeah, I hate those pimples on my phone.
Right.
And I like never thought about it that way, but I was like, you're so right. And so there's certain apps that I don't use very often, but when they're on my home screen and they've got a pimple, I'm like, bah! Like, I just want to turn it off. Like, that's why they do it, by the way.
Like straighten your desk a little bit. You can't work until it's clean.
Right. So what I did is I took all those apps that do that. I know you can turn them off and so forth, but I moved them on to like the third screen of my phone. The chances of me seeing them, well, I don't use them often, so I don't care. And I never see them. And now I don't have that, and I don't get drawn into it. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the other ones, I think we had the golden hour. I don't know if you guys were in the challenge at that time. So it's, you know, how you use your first hour of the day towards your own self-care and setting your intention and so forth. That was one of the things that really helped solidify my stretching practice. It's because I would just kind of haphazardly have it somewhere in my day. And when I started to dial it in that sacred golden hour, then it just started to happen. And
became a habit.
Yeah. So I didn't procrastinate on it. You know, I didn't have a plan. There were lots of things why I got off track, but I used that practice of the golden hour to really create a ritual that served me. And I don't procrastinate on that anymore. So one other thing that I was researching this morning on procrastination that I think is helpful is, and I'm just going to read it because it's not my words. Research shows that our brains are actually wired to think about our present and future selves as two separate people. That's why we're able to prioritize our present mood at the expense of our future well-being, even though it's an irrational choice in the long term. So does that resonate with you guys as far as like thinking about like the procrastination, what I need to do right now versus your future self?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to maybe chew on. But essentially this research says that we procrastinate because our brains are wired to care more about the present than our present comfort than our future happiness. And that just really like hit home with me, you know, when I was prepping for today's Zoom call. Is just like, it is. It's like we're just wired that way. So we have to find the combination of practices and experimentation that retrain our minds and in tangible action ways that will move us forward and overcome the stumbling blocks that usually lead to procrastinating. Because if we just try to use our rationalizing mind will always come back to, well, what's comfortable right now? And there's a lot of truth to that. None of us are guaranteed a future. We only have today. So it's easy to defer, to procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
But like anything, it has kind of that exponential effect. And that's where we get into those places in our mind of, ugh, I'm never going to overcome this. And it's just like, well, sure you will. You have a body of evidence in your life that shows you've done hard things and you've made progress and you've been successful. So just take it today, take an action step, watch the word choices that you're using, and begin.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on procrastination or any tactical things that you think the team would benefit from your wisdom?
I love crossing things off a list.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Feeling of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked what you said, Rusty, where if you don't get that first thing done, because I try to prioritize the list.
Yep.
And my husband is a list maker. Like, if we got this to do today, just make a list of everything we got to do. And he loves like going down and crossing off. He's not a procrastinator. Like, let's just do it now, get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. And so, but then I liked what you said, where if you can't do the first thing, because I'm a big squirrel, I like to go and do what's over here and not what I have here in front of me. And he's like, stay focused, stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then if you go to the second thing, then at least you can cross one or two things off the list,
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He sounds like the kind that he doesn't think about it. He just begins.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, Kathy, you need two lists where one is, the easy stuff that I'm going to do, and one is the hard stuff. And maybe you say, I'm going to do one of these hard things today.
Yeah, that would be good. I think there was a challenge at one time. One of the well-being practices was like that, where you had like a bigger kind of goal in this list, and then you had your daily kind of little goals that that you can accomplish. And I forgot all about that, but that's a good idea to have that separate and the bigger task, because that's what I procrastinate on, is the bigger task. So.
Well, and the other thing that has been a recurring theme in today's discussion is we do better in community. We do better with others. So it's having the humility and the willingness to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a friend, I did this with a girlfriend of mine who needed to make a doctor's appointment, and she just kept putting it off. And it was really important. She was having a lot of symptoms and stuff, but she just always had all these excuses why she couldn't get to it. And so I was just like, well, you want me to, or she was asking for help. And I was just like, well, you want me to text you, call you, what's going to work for you? And she really didn't know. So I just every day in a gentle way, sent her a funny little emoji or one of those video gifts or whatever, a little text. I'd call her on the phone. It probably took literally like a month.
Wow.
But she did it. you know, but what I was so impressed by is when she really was struggling with this really important thing, she did ask for help. And sometimes that's, you know, our own pride or whatever. I don't want to look weak, or like I can't do it myself, or I'm not strong, or, you know, whatever those, you know, kind of nonsensical things we tell ourselves, but we genuinely believe, you know, it's being willing to just say, hey, I need a little help in this area.
Right.
Really want to get it done. I'm struggling and I'm tired of thinking about it.
And that's when you also feel so overwhelmed. That's that putting that block in front of you. I used to manage a like a group of like 8 people, and the bigger projects that were given to me, as a boss, I was a big procrastinator. But then that's when at that time I would reach out to my staff and say, hey, we got this one project. Can you just do this piece of it? Another one, do this piece of it. Let's just bring it all together. And that helped me not procrastinate with the group, you know, and then we got it done together, and they were part of a team. You know, we encouraged each other, so that really helped. So
Yeah. So how can we take those kinds of skill set and just bring it into our personal life with our, you know, our friends and our family who are going to be there in supportive ways.
Right. Yeah. So.
Some good stuff, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And keep going. You know, it's week 3. Whatever your personal focus is, your strategy for this 12 weeks, you know, just be willing to set the pause button, you know, see if you're still on track, if that's still your focus, and then just keep taking action.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining today. I appreciate you guys spending the time with me.
Thank you.
Rusty, do you have any words of wisdom on the intuitive eating for this week?
Oh, I was going to schedule another call for that, specific to that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to forget about the folks on the team that weren't doing the intuitive eating. But yeah, so this week is about honoring your hunger. And so actually in the coach's post that I was going to put out with this, you know, replay of this video, I'm going to put some exercises in there. Okay. So that we can start to, you know, do the action steps of starting to tune in to our body, and then schedule a call, you know, a Zoom conversation. I was actually going to target this weekend for that. What does that sound like? But I'm happy to answer anything specific related to honoring your hunger or the first principle of rejecting diet mentality.
No, I just thought if you had any sort of suggestions on things on what honoring our hunger really looks like, but it sounds like it's more in depth than what you can tell me in a couple of minutes.
Well, I mean, just initially honoring our hunger is one, relearning how to listen to your body for just truly the body sensations of, am I hungry? So it's kind of turning off the autopilot of it's time to eat, you know, the rules we have around the food in our day. And a lot of us are practicing, you know, intermittent fasting or having a window of eating time and stuff. So those rules can work with your honoring your hunger. But, you know, it's like if you find yourself and your body's telling you, I'm really hungry, probably the first action step is to just, you know, pause and actually get down to the granular level of, what am I feeling in my body and what is my mind telling me? And then asking the initial questions of, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hungry am I? And then kind of a visualization. So if I eat right now, can I do it in an undistracted way so that I honor that hunger and I feel it in my body? And is that going to produce, is it going to quench essentially what I'm hungry for? And oftentimes just even within that 1 to 2 minutes of going through that kind of exercise with yourself, it's going to give you so much insight into, am I actually hungry for food, or am I hungry for something else?
Mm-hmm.
And then that starts to build that muscle of tuning in. It's just kind of that first place. And so often we want to just move on with things because it brings up some discomfort to really get introspective like that. But if you can just keep practicing in that foundational way, then you'll find that sometimes your hunger isn't for food, and you'll identify what it really is, or a different way to direct your energy. And then other times when you're like, well, I just don't know, but I feel like eating. That's still honoring your hunger, because again, it's not only eating for the purpose of, say, fuel or nourishment. Food is meant to be pleasurable. It is a social activity. And so sometimes honoring your hunger means, I just feel like kind of noshing right now. And that's really going to satisfy me. And I'm being really intentional with it. And so, yeah, I'm going to give myself permission. That's honoring your hunger.
Mm-hmm.
So the first places to begin is to awaken and get out of autopilot. And so the more you can practice can I press the pause button, which is going to give me the capacity to intervene in what used to just be a knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one paper or question and answer thing that was part of the intuitive eating.
Mm-hmm.
What are your food rules?
Yeah.
And then you just do the checkbox. That really kind of gets you thinking. And I probably checked every single one on there.
Right.
But yeah, because it's, I just, I'm not good about that and thinking about it, and have many years of dieting. So I have to like pull away from that. I think I said that last time.
Yeah.
Get those habits out of my mind and say, okay, why am I eating? Why am I hungry now? Or is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm hungry? Or, so yeah.
Yeah, and all of these principles at first, they just seem so clumsy, and sort of, really I got to stop and ask myself all these questions and tune in, take some breaths, feel my body sensations and so forth. But it's like we've gotten so far away from factory settings with our body that we do, have to go through this relearning and discomfort in, what should just, most of us want just pleasure with food, so that we can, start to use our own bodies as our best nutritionist. Right. And that's the place where intuitive eating will evolve through every changing phase of our lives. So when we go into we move to a new climate, where we're going through, menopause, or, we're dealing with a death of a loved one, or, some celebratory thing. Our intuitive eater goes with us through all those. Diets do not, or food rules, rigid, that are just based on some prescriptive external, that's what I should do. Well, does that work for you? Most of our shoulds don't work for us.
Good insight.
Oh, well, thanks. But yeah, I did want to get that call scheduled for the principle number 2. Thank you for the reminder. All right, ladies, thanks again so much for joining me. And I'm going to post this in the coach's post along with some other information. And just remember, we always have that Dropbox. I'll put that link in there if there's resources. Yeah, I wanted to check that out. I'll put that in there. And then just if you see other people that are like, I couldn't find that, I don't know where that is, just remind them that we have the Dropbox folder.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have a good
Everyone,
week.
You too.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your week.
Stay
Thank
well.
you.